All right, everyone, this is a little demonstration of how to do our silly city drawings. Now, you're going to want to always start with pencil so that if your building doesn't turn out the exact way that you want it to be, you can always erase and change it. So you're going to need to start by drawing the floor, the ground. We're going to use a horizontal line to draw the ground. Then remember, I told you you need to have at least 3 buildings: a straight building, a zigzag building, and a curvy building. You can have more if you want, so I'll start with the basic 3. We're gonna do a straight line building. I'm gonna make mine pretty wide. Remember, the angle of your arrow determines how wide or big your building can be. So look, there's my straight building, done. Next, I think I'll do zigzag, and I want my zigzag building to be taller than the straight line building. So here's my zigzag arrow, and now my building just needs zigzag legs. Last, we need a curvy or a wavy building. So I drew a kind of loopy wave for my arrow, and I'm gonna make my arrow wavy go out to the side. Now when I add legs, I'm gonna do wavy legs. And it looks like I have a wavy, kind of sideways building. So now that I'm done with my 3 buildings, if I wanted to, I could put one behind it. I think I'm actually happy. I think I like these 3 buildings. So now we're gonna add details. I wanna have a little door here so that it looks like my building is so big. I want my buildings to look really big. I'm gonna put a door on this side too. And then this building is just gonna have a couple windows. This one is gonna have lots of triangle windows because they make me think of a zigzag. And this one I'm gonna do really big windows. I haven't seen buildings that have big windows. See, look, I just made a mistake. I don't like that. So I'm gonna take my eraser and I'm gonna erase it. This way I don't have to crumple up the page and throw it away, but I can keep my artwork and keep on moving forward. Okay, now that I have my silly city, somebody asked me if they could draw cars. You could totally draw cars in your silly city. And a sidewalk. And maybe our dotted lines, our yellow lines for our street. And then I think I would like to have a sunshine. So now that I'm done with this, I'm happy with it. I don't need to erase anything. I'm gonna outline it in crayon. So you can decide what colors of crayons you want to use. You can choose different crayons for different buildings, so that your buildings can be all different colors. All right, so I have one building done. That makes me feel really good. I'm gonna take my gray crayon and use my gray crayon for the sidewalk. And get my yellow crayon for the street. Now, if you don't like using, like, I'm gonna outline my sun, but you're gonna still see the pencil through. So if that's something you wanna avoid, you can lightly erase. So you can still see your drawing, but then you can use the lighter colored crayon to trace. Oh, I broke my crayon. I'm holding it too hard. That's what happens. But it doesn't mean we can't use it still. Okay, gray for the tires. Now we're all done with our silly city. It's all finished in crayon. So now I can take out my watercolors if my adults and parents at home are allowing me to. And I can paint in my silly city buildings. So you want to be really careful here not to just color over on top of everything. You're going to get a little bit of water, put it into the color that you want. You can use the lid as a palette for mixing colors. That way you don't mix inside of the yellow. You can use the lid of your container. And we're just going to paint this building blue. The brush I'm using is just a brush I had in my art room. Your brush is going to be a little smaller, which is helpful. That's good. It means you're going to be able to get into all your little tiny areas without painting over. So you can stay in the lines of what you actually want to paint. This brush makes it a little hard because it's so wide. Oh, see? Almost done with building number 1. Oh, that got really dark. And I had used blue crayon for my blue building. For my zigzag building, I'm actually not going to use red. I'm going to show you what it looks like to use a different color. I'm going to use some orange. So when you use a different color, oh, also, when I'm done using one color and I'm about to use the next color, I need to rinse off my brush so I have no blue paint on my brush. See, I even still have some orange. So if I were gonna go and make yellow on this building for some reason, it would have orange in it and it would mix the colors, and that's not what we want right now. We wanna have it just one color. So I'm gonna keep on painting. Zigzag is really tricky to paint because there's all these little corner spaces. So make sure that you're trying your hardest to stay clean and be patient and work slowly and stay in the lines. I just went out of the lines. I'm gonna keep persisting through. Okay, done with that building. We are going to move on to our last and final building, which I think I don't know if I can make it purple because I'm running out of red in my paint palette. But here we go. Okay, now for the street, I'm going to make it gray. And see how my yellow stripes still show? I think that's so fun. And the sidewalk needs to be painted also. But this is what I'm looking for. If you're not able to paint and you're using crayons to color in your artwork, then I'd like for you to color in the entire page. Here we get the sun. There's a little purple in there so you can see what happens. I rinsed my brush, now I'm getting green for my car. There's a lot of water in there. I think lastly, I'm just gonna paint my sky. Oh, wrong container. Okay, so that's my silly city, but I'm gonna use the brush that you guys get a brush that's a little more like this. It's a little smaller, I guess. So I'm gonna use my little small brush to, whoopsie, too much, to add the gray black kind of color for the doors and the windows. I guess the lights could be on. They could be yellow windows maybe, like when you see a city building at night, but it's daytime in my picture, so people wouldn't have their lights on in their office, I guess, or at home. But, you know, maybe in one of these windows, these big windows, I'll paint some people, or put little like dots for heads. So I paint them all in. And then maybe I'll use my other kind of color and I'll do some people. Maybe here I'll paint like a television. Maybe here's some more people. Maybe this is someone's table. Yeah, so now it looks like stuff's kind of happening. And I don't want to forget the car windows or the tires. Perfect. There's our silly city.